There's our guy.
Howdy.
All right. If everybody can hear me okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order at 5 p.m. I would like to start by adding our statement that we're going to add for every meeting. As we gather today, we acknowledge that we are meeting on ancestral lands and territories taken from Indigenous peoples. We recognize sovereign tribal governments that share governance within Humboldt County, California. We thank and honor the Indigenous caretakers of this land who continue to cherish and protect it. Their elders have instructed the young to consider the 7 generations ahead as they continue to protect the rights of the land and all people who live on it. We encourage all to align and follow the lead of local Indigenous communities as they steward the land and protect all of its natural resources. All right, at that time, we'll do roll call. Eddie, roll call.
Marianne, I'll take that. All right. Commissioner Lochte.
Here.
Thank you, Bird. Commissioner Lyons.
Here.
Commissioner Rowe.
Here.
Commissioner Aronoff.
Present.
Commissioner Perkins.
Here.
Commissioner Larson.
Here.
Commissioner Miller.
Here.
Commissioner Glover.
Here.
I'm here, Commissioner Haney, and Commissioner Morgan.
Present.
I have on an excused absence, Commissioner Harper Desir, and I'm not seeing Scott Davies and didn't get an email, so.
What about Linda?
Oh, Sunberg, yeah.
Oh, Lisa Sundberg, yes. I'm not, let me see the list. Maybe her video's off. I'm not seeing her in the list at the moment.
No.
All right, thank you all.
All right. Are there any agenda adjustments at this time? Seeing no hands, I'll move forward. I hope all the commissioners have gotten to look at the minutes from July 1st, 2021. I sent them out 2 weeks ago to see if there was anything that needed to be corrected. Seeing none, I now know from Bird that I can just say the minutes are approved. Is that correct, Bird? That's the new.
Yes,
We
as
don't have
long
to
as David put in any corrections that anybody sent him.
David, did you put in corrections?
I did, and the last person to send in corrections was Bird, and I got those in there.
Thank you.
Perfect. Okay.
And you-
So David,
Present.
tomorrow you'll send those over and we'll get those posted right away. We're getting pretty good at getting them posted on the website now. We're learning. All right. Treasurer's report. That would be you, Guy, but it's a work in progress. Jim may have the balance because he has the latest statement that I haven't seen.
Oh. I do. I don't know if that'll help, but
We can put that into the minutes.
the June 30th statement showed a balance of $600.43.
Okay, Lelaine is coming in.
And we do have the debit card for the account as well.
May I add something? Mary Ann, may I add?
Absolutely.
I talked with Denise at McLean, and they want to wrap up our grant. And she asked that we give her an idea of what we might be able to spend, particularly on things like the internet and any of our technical costs before the end of the year, and get it to her. They will pay us for those things and then close out that grant. That doesn't mean we can't apply again. She said we definitely can, but I think we would need to come up with a new budget to do that.
Okay.
So I would like to ask probably Eddie, you know what we need for technical stuff. And anybody else who thinks that there are any expenses that we might have between now and December, that everybody come with that in September so that we can get that information to Denise.
Okay, we'll add that to new business for next month. That sounds great, Bird. I'd like to amend that balance. David, to subtract $324 from that $600 amount that we paid Eddie to catch up before. Now the internet and all of that is on the Human Rights Commission's debit card account and off of Eddie's. So we really only have about $250 right now.
Noted.
So we'll
Thank you.
talk about that later, huh?
Noted, and thank you.
Thank you. All right. Okay, at this time, we'll have guests or presenters. Do we have any guests today that signed up beforehand? I don't see the chief. Okay. We'll move past that then. Okay, we're going to go into public comment, but I'd like to read like we're going to do every month. Recognition and introduction of guests and visitors. Public is invited to speak regarding matters not on the agenda. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Pursuant to Ralph Brown Act, Commission may not act on an item that is not appearing on the agenda, but we can definitely take it forward and have it be new business. If a member of the public speaks and requests assistance on a non-agenda subject, the Commission may not take any action or propose any solutions, but the citizens may be given a resource card for contact information relevant to their issue. The citizen may be given a complaint intake form for purposes of adding to a future agenda of the next regular HRC meeting. And finally, an individual commissioner may speak to the citizen apart from the meeting and recommend steps they might take. Members of the public will each be allowed to speak on agenda items once during discussion, usually at the end of commissioner comments and prior to any action or vote by the commission. Time to speak will be closely monitored, 3 minutes per person. And again, public is invited to speak regarding matters not on the agenda. All right. Okay, so on that note, any public comments? We'll open the floor at this time. I'll get my little timer handy. And do I see any hands raised? Or if not, I think just speak out. Hi, Lelania, it's good to see you. I recognize Lelania.
It's nice to see all of your faces.
I know. Nice to know.
I'm not sure if the item that I wish to speak on is on the agenda or not. I saw a human rights survey, but I wish to speak on the cannabis survey.
The cannabis survey is not on the agenda at this time. I can give you a brief background as to why. Several commissioners and several members of the public felt that the cannabis survey was too limiting, and they wanted us to look at the idea of doing a human rights survey. We have not addressed the results of the cannabis survey yet, just simply because it's been summer. We haven't quite all been able to get together, but we do want to produce some results from the cannabis survey. So the human rights survey is a different agenda item, and the cannabis survey is not our agenda today. Does that help?
Okay, then I would like to take that time to address some of the issues that I heard discussed. I haven't heard this discussed at the meetings, except for the one directly after my resignation. So I would love to get the video or whatever it is of where that was discussed, so I can be up to date and understand what's going on. But I wrote something so I could just make this really quick and easy for everybody, for myself too. Good evening, commissioners. First I want to say thanks for allowing me the time to speak, and I want to speak on the Cannabis Human Rights Survey. The purpose of the commission has more clarity around it. The purpose of the Cannabis Human Rights Survey was to understand how our county's biggest economic engine is impacting the human rights of Humboldt County. I was the commissioner who led this charge. A very broad outreach between local media, established cannabis organizations, law enforcement, and private citizens was conducted, ensuring we had a full view of the committee. community. We also collaborated with the UC Berkeley Cannabis Research Center to ensure the data was collected effectively and with integrity. However, with the limitations that COVID presented and the lack of participation from the commission, I was unable to activate the community as I had hoped to around the Human Rights Cannabis Survey. That being said, according to UC Berkeley research team, our level of response was large and diverse compared to many cannabis-related surveys. Also, since the survey was created, we have had an influx of funding coming in from the state for cannabis social equity. This survey becomes even more important to the county as it works to determine what kind of programs and peoples the cannabis economy has impacted. In 2015, our county publicly acknowledged that we had over 10,000 cannabis farms in Humboldt County under the California medical regulations. Today, we have less than 2,000 legally permitted farms in Humboldt, which means that we have at least 8,000 farmers, their families, and their employees now living illegally by new regulatory standards. The U.S. Constitution 14th Amendment states, "No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States." The purpose of this survey was not to address policy issues, but to identify if we have a population that is disenfranchised and not heard, as well as identify how, if cannabis has or is impacting human rights in our county. The charge of the Human Rights Commission is to represent the disenfranchised and to be a voice for those who cannot be heard. I want to address something that I have heard the commissioners ask. What does cannabis have to do with human rights? The biggest economic engine in our county for a few decades has been cannabis.
10 seconds left.
What does economics have to do with human rights? I will quote the researcher and co-author from the Danish Institute of Human Rights, Stein Jorgensen. Globally, there is no trade-off between human rights and economic growth. Rights to freedom of speech, freedom in assembly and association, and electoral self-determination have a significant positive effect on economic growth. I have more to say, but I will leave that as my time is up. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lelania. I appreciate everything you've mentioned, and we will reach out to you and make sure we get that on the agenda, next agenda. Do we have any other, anybody else who's a public person who's here today that's not on the commission that would like to speak at this time?
Mary, really quickly, could we ask Lelania to send that in so it could be added to the minutes, her comment?
We could do that, although we would have to do that apart from the meeting. And that's why I was saying I would reach out to her, because we're not supposed to comment here.
Okay,
Although
I just
we
want to
all
make
want
sure
to.
I have the appropriate, what needs to be.
I liked what
in
she
there,
said
so.
too, so I will make sure that I tried to call her before, and I'll call her after the meeting too. I look forward to talking with you, Lelania. Do we have any other? Oh, I see Nicole Norris has raised her hand. The chair recognizes Nicole Norris.
Hi. Oh, let me get out of here. Oh, bunch on two machines here. Hi. Yeah, I just want to second what Lelania Dubois said about the survey. My crying just now. What's happening in our community, in our cannabis community, is absolute devastation to human rights. And it's really important that you all look at this matter. And I don't think it's just about cannabis as much as like living off the land sustainably. I hope you guys talk later about homeless rights. Is that what's happening? If I understand correctly? I don't know if you can respond. I'd like to talk about the Yeehaw commune. I sent you all an email about. Hopefully I can talk about that later. But anyway, just back to the cannabis matter, it's really critical that you guys look at that. Even if you don't live in Southern Humboldt, where 75% of the abatements went, it's going to impact your area of the county as well. So yeah, the abatements all came to Southern Humboldt. There's a lot of small farmers that were cut out of compliance. Their homes, like this beautiful one behind me, they're not permitted and they're under threat right now. and it is all connected to the cannabis culture. And important, equitable justice. That's what we all voted for. Well, I didn't vote for legalization, but a lot of people voted for that when they voted for legalization. And if y'all can do anything to help, please do. And can somebody answer my question about the homeless topic up for
There is, we do have a report on the
discussion
agenda.
today?
Generally speaking,
Can
we
I make a
can't
comment?
We'll get you there.
Hello.
Okay. I think it's a bad connection.
So I can make a comment later.
Yeah.
Oh no, really? Ah, darn it. Okay, I'll call back on that matter. Living rurally.
Mary, you're muted.
Yourself back on.
I was trying to help her with her feedback. If there's, are there any other public comments at this time? Seeing no other hands raised, we'll move on to commissioner communications. Do we have any new commissioner communications? Bird, Rick, they recognizes Bird.
I would just like to mention the fact that Charlie Bean died last week or 10 days ago. And there was a wonderful article in the North Coast Journal about him. I would like to suggest that we put that on our website with perhaps a few sentences about the fact that he was a very important member of the Human Rights Commission, because that is not in the public information that I have seen. He was a very important person for several years. Besides all the things he did in terms of a Disability Act, he was a very good commissioner and important to our commission. So I would just like to see us recognize him on our website with maybe a few sentences about his contribution.
That's a great idea, Bird.
I agree with that too.
Yeah,
I
he was
ditto
a
that.
tireless advocate for those folks. Very, very strong advocate.
Bird, I'll call you
I
after the
concur.
meeting to get some more information about that, and we'll get that posted. At least try to get it posted on the Facebook page whenever we get access to the Facebook page. And I'll see what I can do on our website. All right, are there any other, oh, sorry, Chair recognizes Carol.
Mary, also, could we add that to our agenda next month to speak of Charlie and his accomplishments for our record?
Absolutely. So David, you got that? New business next month? A tribute to Charlie? Great. Good idea. Jim, Chair recognizes Jim.
Two things. One, Eddie was holding up a copy of the article that was being mentioned, and that would be a good basis for anything we might add to our Facebook page. My personal comments are actually questions, and they do have to do with the Facebook page. I've seen two recent postings on our Facebook page, and I have no idea who is doing those postings or how our administrating may or may not be checking the validity of the comments being made on that page.
I as well don't have access, so I don't know who is administering the Facebook page right now. So I'm looking into it. I've been talking with Eddie. I sent Lelaine a little email about it too, two past commissioners or chairs. We'll get to the bottom of it, Jim.
Yeah, because the county has access to it. So yeah, I know I haven't posted anything except for what I did today. So yeah, we'll get to the bottom of it.
Thank you, Lelania. I will talk to you afterwards about that. Lelania just let me know that as a previous chair, she has access, so she's going to help me with that.
Well,
yeah, I didn't have, again, Lelania, I'm seeing your comment. We're a little bit out of order, but I'll call you about a few of those things, Lelania, outside of the meeting. Any other commissioner comments? Okay, how about, let's move on to any emails, regular mail, phone calls, anything anybody wants to report. I am pleased to say that I've worked with the county to be able to have access to the hhr.co.humboldt.ca.us account. So I'll be going through emails there to kind of get caught up on some things. It was kind of a kerfluffle, so I wasn't able to get the online banking started like we've been trying to do, but we're getting there. Larry, to recognize.
Yeah, I wanted to find out if maybe somebody else had came at the news and on the 12th of July had a fairly in-depth report on the Planning Commission and the large marijuana grow being sponsored by Sun Valley Bulb Farms. And one of the people that called in was I didn't catch her first name, it was Perez, but she was speaking for Central de Pueblo. Bird, is that the correct? Are you familiar with that organization?
Centro de Pueblo, yeah.
And
Center.
the lady was Perez. Is that one of the? Does that ring a bell to you?
Yes, probably, yes. Brenda, I think Brenda Perez. I think so. I'm
At
not
any
sure.
rate, the reason I'm bringing this up is that we've had this charge of looking into violations, human rights violations, as from that ordinance that was passed. And this lady described some pretty horrendous conditions, human rights violations that were going on there, alleging all kinds of things, including really severe housing situations where 20 people are living in a house for for 5, people having to hide in the freezers when ice raids come, a real atmosphere of fear and intimidation. She said that they don't call the flowers, they call the flowers that are being produced there blood flowers, for Christ's sakes. So anyway, I wanted to bring that up, and I mean, if a third or half of what this person was alleging is valid, I'm wondering why we haven't been hearing any complaints through that process that we have in place. So I don't know if that's.
I don't know. Chair recognizes Jim.
Well, this is a question. I didn't hear the radio broadcast, but I wasn't under the impression that I wasn't under the impression that bulb farm grow had even started yet. Am I wrong?
They've gotten approved for 1/4 of what they were going to get approved for.
That's different than are they? That's different than are they operating?
They're not yet.
Well, then I don't know how. I don't know.
Can I speak?
Hold on, the chair recognizes Bird.
I think perhaps they're talking about things at the actual bulb farm. But I also, from things I've heard, there is a real reluctance to make a complaint. And we did everything we could by giving them the information and giving it to them in Spanish. But I think there's real reluctance because there's this feeling that if I open my mouth, I'm going to be deported. So I just think it's a difficult situation. We have the situation in place for them to complain, but they don't feel comfortable doing it. And that's just my personal take on what I've seen and heard.
Okay, I think that this really should have fallen under Commissioner Communications since it's on email, regular mail, or phone call, but that's an exception we're making at this time. But we want to try and stay on task. So Larry, Chair recognizes Larry. Go ahead. No,
Again, I just,
we'll finish the conversation. I agree that it's an important one.
yeah, I thought it was the appropriate place here, but again, I just wanted to bring that up and, you know, that if anyone's interested, they do archive their news broadcasts. And again, it was July 12th, KMED News that you would be wanting to access.
I believe my friend Sunshine Johnson actually was the person on that. Do we have any other email, regular mail, phone calls that we want to discuss? All right, let's move forward to the message line report. I had the message line from July 1st to July 15th. I received not too many. I received 3 messages and was able to resolve. One wanted to know when the grand jury report would come out, and we let them know it was next spring. A couple more wanted to let Larry know about the that from Byrne and Price, and Larry took care of that by reaching out and leaving a message. And that's what I have to report from the 1st to the 15th. David, what do you have from the 16th to the 31st?
Thank you, Mary. I appreciate that. Yeah, during the entire 2-week period, I only got 3 calls. One of them I was unable to follow up on in any meaningful fashion. They said that their rights were violated by by CHP and EPD, but they didn't leave any kind of identifying information about themselves or a way to reach them back, and any kind of elaboration on what the violations were, unfortunately. The other 2 calls that I received were people in the community that were in the mental health process in the county and needing more support with that. And literally just one of them was waiting for a new patient advocate. And the other person was looking for information that we're just personal information about specific people in the county that we were just not able to give. So that was the 3 calls that I received.
Bird, today is the 5th. Do you have any to report on between the 1st and the 5th, or
No,
not really?
I have had no calls so far.
Okay, great. All right, we're going to move forward and find out. We now have. What's that?
So,
Oh, sorry, Carol. Go ahead, Carol. Chair recognizes Carol.
Thank you. I'm sorry I missed the last meeting. However, would it be possible for Larry or Eddie to let me know what happened with all those phone calls that I received during my time? Were you able to help the person out? Remember, it was a female in the county jail.
By the time go ahead, Eddie.
yeah, by the time that we got to her, she was no longer there. Yes, and we have a list. I'll send you the list, Carol, of where all the information goes. Because I respond to all the items, and that was my other thing, is that I'm taking from what the other 2 reported that all our status cases are closed, and I'm talking about the ones that Commissioner Haney and then you, Mary, talked about. Is that a true statement?
Yes, and I've gone in and checked mine office calls.
Yep. Perfect. Okay.
All right. So
and then there's one more thing I want to say is that I know several people like Guy and I believe Mr. Glover, and there was and Larry have permission and certificates to go and visit into the detention or the prison, and I was hoping I could put one of those people in there, and I think Jim has his hand up.
Oh, I applaud.
We'll talk about that in the correctional liaison report coming up. And Jim, if you were discussing message line, do you have anything?
No.
All right. Okay, as a reminder, Bert is done on the 15th and Guy, you take over on the 16th. So you have the second half of this month. And then we've got September 1st through 15th, Jim, September 16th through 30th, myself, October 1st through 15th, Larry, October 16th through 31st, David, and we would like to set up November 1st through 15th and November 15th through 30th. Do we have any of the newer commissioners who'd like to give it a try? You just kind of answer the phone and write the messages down. It'd be great to get some of our newer commissioners involved with that. Who'd like to volunteer and we'll help them through it? Datso, okay, I've got you down. Perkins for the 1st through 15th. How about 15th?
15th and on?
November 1st through 15th.
Or can I do the 15th and then to the end of the month?
Oh, absolutely, sure.
My schedule.
That's going to be through Thanksgiving. Does that work for you okay?
Yeah.
All right. Do we have any of the newer commissioners who'd like to try 1st through 15th? And we'll walk you through it. It's pretty simple. You just kind of collect and reach out to us, or if you need it, if you have any questions. Any other new commissioners who have not had a go at the message line? Thanks. That's so for volunteering.
Okay.
Quick question.
Hold on, Jim, I see your hand. Chair
Well,
recognizes
If
Jim.
if Dotso was volunteering for the 15th through the end of November, is that correct?
Yes.
I will volunteer for the 1st through the 15th then.
All right, thank you. And Eddie, did you have a question?
Yeah, a quick question for Commissioner Dotso. I know last time you had some issues getting into the questionnaire and things like that. Did we ever resolve that?
Yeah, I believe we did.
Okay, so you're good to go.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Otherwise, I'll be glad to meet you for coffee. Okay, that's on that. Okay, agenda item 9, Correctional Facilities Liaison Report. Do we have anything to report?
No, we do not.
Okay, and at this time, Eddie, you were making a request?
Yes, I'd like to, I've been on that duty for some time, and I'd like to shift it to somebody else. I know Larry has done that. I know Mr. Glover has done it. I know Guy is certified to do it. And I believe, Mary, you're also certified. I think that was the last email I sent. So more than happy to go with or kind of just show the process or even go with one, but I'd like to put somebody else in there. And then I'd love to volunteer as a phone answering person in the future.
Okay, do we have Jim or Larry? Would either of you like to volunteer to work with Eddie to take over as the head liaison?
Sure, I will. You know, Jim's got so much on his plate, but if he really wants to do it,
I'm not
certainly
raising
let
my
him.
hand for that. I've applied, but I have not yet been notified that I've been approved. That's fine.
Have you been approved? Because normally it used to be one male and one female. So it was just Eddie and I. So have we, yeah. So Larry, you're willing to do it and we'll work it out between them.
Are you still the female
Yeah.
volunteer though?
Mhm.
Okay.
No.
Sure.
Sure, Eddie?
Point of clarification, we can have more than 2 people to have permissions to go to the facilities. It's just that they don't want more 2 people to go there. So we can have several people accredit, whatever the term we want to use, like permissioned, but we can have more than just 2 people. So right now we have 4 people permissioned, I believe. And David Haney, did you apply or am I imagining things? No, okay, so it's 4. It's
Okay.
Yep.
Larry, could you and Eddie, Eddie, can you set up a time to meet with Larry and facilitate that transition?
Yeah,
So
I
that
think
Larry could take over next month?
I think what we should do is put Larry on it, and then the next person that we need to go and visit, Larry and I we can go through the process together. I think
Does that work? How's that work for you,
that
Larry?
would make sense.
Sound good,
Well, I
Larry?
was thinking Yeah, so, and at that point, that we would, that's when the point would be that we are informing the jail that I'm now the liaison. And until that
Well-
point, you would still,
Your background check would have to be approved, so we need to find out if your background check was approved.
His
I-
background
I've
check
been
has been
approved.
approved.
His has been.
Great, perfect. All right. Carol, recognize Carol.
Mary, is it possible on our agenda, under the correctional facility liaison report, can you add the names of those individuals, our commissioners, that are approved to go through?
Yeah,
And the
it's
reason
not,
I
it's
asked-
not really a committee, but I don't think there's anything wrong with doing that. Does anybody else think that that doesn't follow any protocol? Bird,
No,
what do you
I-
think of that?
No, that should be fine.
That
Just
should
Okay,
be
great then. Good
Approved.
suggestion, Carol.
just put them as approved visitors.
Yes.
Perfect.
And the reason I'm asking is when I was on the phone and I had over, I don't know how many phone calls from this one individual, she was a female and I didn't know who were the liaisons other than Eddie. And I knew Larry was on there. So if I would have known you were a visitor, I could have sent you the information because she was a female.
Carol, I think that I also listened to all those messages because unless it was a different time frame, and I did reach out to the jail on that, but she had left by then when I listened to the messages. But that's good to know. I agree with you. I think that that's smart. Larry, I see your hand.
yeah, I think we need, maybe clarify some protocol in terms of how we go forward with this. For sure, I'm gonna want the names and, of everybody that's been approved for visitation. But I think in the future, when the phone calls come in from somebody from the jail, then they should be referred to me immediately. And then I would, if I can't go, I would, assign, one of the other, people to go. Actually, I think I'm going to try to have two go visit whenever possible. But yeah, and at some point then, I think Eddie and I will, I think that's a good idea. He and I will go to the jail and get an opportunity to meet the new liaison there. And yeah.
And if the protocol has changed and we can have more than one female and more than one male, which wasn't the case 2 years ago, if that has changed, it would be great to have another female too. So if anybody on the commission who is a female would like to also become a liaison, because there's not two women to go into the women's side at this point. Carol, I see your hand raised. Carol, I'll make sure to get you the application. Okay, awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, and Chair recognizes Eddie first. Go ahead,
So
Eddie.
to answer the question about where we're gonna put the things, I hope you guys can see the screen here. And so I'll have a link down here, which will have all the people that are certified to go to the prison right down here, if that makes sense.
Excellent.
Okay,
Great.
Good.
is that public or is that a private?
This is for the commissioners.
Okay, and Jim.
Could either Eddie or Larry, depending on who goes first, determine whether or not my application has been approved? Because then I could be added to that list.
And Larry.
I was going to just ask Jim, if when you submitted that application, was there a person that you submitted it to? Do you remember? There's I can't. Eddie's, what's her-
It went to Sarah. I don't know her last name.
Yeah, Officer Sarah. Yeah.
But she wasn't the one that actually got it from me. Another person met me at the door and took my application and said she would give it to Sarah, or the other way around.
I'll just give her an email back asking. That's what I did.
You can submit your
asked-
application online too, Carol. I'll get you that link, okay?
Yeah, that's what I did actually.
Right. Okay, that sounds like some progress. We'll kind of get that all dialed in to to at least say that all the transition went successfully by the September meeting. Sound good, everyone? Great. Okay, standing committee report, sanctuary ordinance, Commissioner Morgan.
Nothing, I have nothing to report on that one. Haven't made that much progress. I know David Haney and I were supposed to meet with the sheriff, and that's just hasn't transpired, and I'll take responsibility for that.
Okay, I believe that it's been a couple months, so, and also I believe there's only 2 people on it. Is there anybody else who would like to volunteer for the sanctuary ordinance? Eddie, could you give a brief description of what the sanctuary ordinance standing committee is?
Basically, the sanctuary, it's something that's mandated. It's something that the county asked for. And basically our responsibility, if that somebody did report sanctuary, we, especially the chair, we'd have to process the paperwork. That's the bottom line, and supervise it. And so what we had spoken during our last meeting was that David and I would meet with the sheriff and see if we were on the same sheet of music of the process. Because I think what we agreed in the past meetings is that the process is unclear. I think nobody has applied for sanctuary. We haven't been asked to do it. But if we were to ask to be put into action, I don't think we have a clear picture. And so we wouldn't move as fast as probably we wanted to. And we wanted to clear that up with the sheriff, but we haven't got there. Bird has her hand up.
I think that
Chair recognizes Bird.
I think the committee is supposed to accept any complaints, not necessarily somebody asking for sanctuary, but
Right.
for complaints against the ordinance that was voted by the county. I mean, the voters in the county approved the ordinance, and we are part of that ordinance. It's not the county, it's the ordinance telling us what we're supposed to do. And it is just to accept and decide what to do with any complaint that comes in.
Thank you for that clarification, Bird. So at this time, Eddie and David, do you want to have an additional member?
I think that would help. I know it helped me. I've been busy. Oh, we got a hands up there. I'm not trying to
Okay,
overstep
Guy. We're going to add Guy onto the Sanctuary Ordinance Committee to at least kind of be following along with it. Larry?
I was wondering if maybe that committee could look into getting somebody from the Central Pueblo to come and speak to the commission. Just to, try, some real straight speaking about, why this isn't being utilized. I think, again, there was a lot of people put a lot of energy into getting that thing passed, and it's just been sitting there, and that's kind of a shame, I think. So I just wanted to throw that out as a suggestion.
All right, committee members, you guys have heard that. Our chair recognizes David.
Yeah, I completely agree with Larry. I think that it would be a great idea, and I can actually reach out to Central del Pueblo and address that. I think it's a great idea.
And then chair recognizes Eddie.
You know what? I think Chairman Haney kind of covered what I was going to say.
Perfect. Okay, anything else on sanctuary ordinance? Let's move on to human trafficking fund. That's you again, Commissioner Morgan.
Say again. I didn't hear the last
The human
part.
trafficking fund. That you're the chair. You're the point person for that.
Are you?
It says Morgan, Lochte, Sundberg, Glover, and I believe.
I think Bird knows more than I do on this one.
Okay, Bird.
It was my understanding that several months ago, when we approved the committee's recommendation for a grant to be given, that it was to go to the Board of Supervisors for their approval. And Eddie, at that point, you were the chair, and as I understood it, you were going to do that. Did that never happen? Because I've had communication from Humboldt Area Foundation, and they said they have not heard anything from the county about distributing that money.
No, that has not happened. And I don't have a good recollection so don't know what to say about that.
I'd like to open it up to public comment to Lelania. Thanks, Lelania. Jim, do you want to go before Lelania?
Well, that's not really my point. My point is these are committee reports at this point.
Well, Lelania is a past commissioner, as a past chair, has some pertinent information. And I think that, is everybody okay with me allowing that to be entered in? Aaron says, okay, is everybody okay with that? Okay, Lelania?
I just wanted to clarify why the committee was going to speak with the sheriff. Because when we did our town hall meetings, we got feedback from the community and the sheriff that no one understood how to file a complaint, including us. And so
We're talking about the human trafficking fund. Is that what you're talking about?
No, I was trying to public comment on sanctuary.
Oh,
Yes.
okay, we normally only do public comment on actions, but I thought that you had something to say about what was going to go to the Board of Supervisors. I thought that might have happened during your tenure for the sanctuary, the human trafficking fund.
I didn't even know there were two separate conversations. I thought you were still talking about the sanctuary.
No, but I'd love to have a meeting with you at some time, Helena. Okay.
Mary,
So, Bird and
Mary,
yeah.
If I could just add something real quick, I think that somebody from the commission just needs to take this to the Board of Supervisors is what the point is, where we're at with this. And that's what I
No,
think
I agree.
Bird has
So
been
if
pushing
you
for the
guys
last
could
couple
give
of
me-
meetings.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's me or if it's whoever, we just need to do it, as you know. And so I just didn't. I assumed the chair was going to do it. If I need to do it, I can do it. But
I don't know what it is, but more Eddie and Bird, you can. I'll set up a meeting with you guys to find out what it is. Someone was going to take to the board.
I don't
Sure.
think we need a meeting.
No.
I think David would be the person to do it because he has the minutes of what was decided.
All right,
and
perfect,
he could
David.
take that-
So perfect. He's
Somebody-
not on the Human Trafficking Fund Committee, but I don't think it matters, does it?
Somebody needs to make the appointment with going to the Board of Supervisors to get it there. It usually can just go on their consent calendar, but somebody has to get it to them. And
All right,
what I can do is I can take what happened in the minutes, send that to Mary, and hopefully from the HHR email address, the chair's email address, maybe she sends that to the Board of Supervisors for approval.
David,
would be
David,
great.
let's call and meet about that. I'll meet you about that later. Thanks, David. for
sounds
stepping
perfect.
up.
All right.
And any other comments on the Human Trafficking Fund? Yes, Bird, go.
As soon as that happens, David and Mary, would you please send me an email of what has happened, when it will be at the Board of Supervisors, so that I can let Humboldt Area Foundation know when to expect it?
I'll just include you in all the communications.
Thank you.
Make it that easy.
Yeah.
And Eddie, because you guys are both. So, all right. So Eddie, is it your understanding that maybe Bird is leading this because it shows you as the lead on this? No, Eddie's the lead. Okay.
Yeah,
good.
no, because I know I was the lead, and I'm sorry, I know I was the lead for the web page, and I was the lead to help the thing, some of the grantees with the process. And I do have some recollection of bringing it back, but I do not want to take the lead on that. So any help from Commissioner Haney or Bird would be very much appreciated.
Okay,
I just don't have the time for that, and I'm sorry about that.
no worries. All right, does anybody else have anything on the Human Trafficking Fund? We're getting all these kind of little things ironed out, and getting all these little pieces that have fallen through the cracks back on the table. I love it. Okay, we've got the ad hoc committee reports, Racism Cultural Awareness Committee. That would be David. Anything to report?
Thank you, Mary. I appreciate it. Yes, there's actually two things that I wanted to report on. The first one being the link that I sent out to the commissioners earlier this week. It might have even been yesterday. The Humboldt County BIPOC Students Listening Session Report
Could you share that?
2021.
Are you able to share that screen?
Absolutely, I can.
I'd like, yeah, so that, because not everybody who's at this meeting will have been able to see that. And I'd like to,
You got it.
Sure.
Let's see here. It's this one. I'm not sure if I could only see what I can see. I don't know if it's coming up for you
Yep,
guys.
it's coming up.
Oh, perfect, perfect. Yes, and this was recently released to the public, and I just wanted to take a few moments to specifically thank the members of the community, the students in the community that made these listening sessions and this report happen. Thanks to Alana Smith, Aristea Salisbury, Sharon Blank, Dawn Arledge, Tom Jackson, and Bella Vaz Broughton. For making this happen, as well as the other groups, the All Black Humboldt Student Union, for making this report happen. But this is basically a report giving data around the listening sessions that happened last year. And this is an extremely crucial report for this community, because this is going to be giving data that people can use for racial equity work. But most specifically, I'm asking as a community member for the community to take just a few minutes to read this important report, because it not only lays out demographics towards the top, but it also gets into recommendations here. And I really think that this is important for the community to know what was discussed during these listening sessions, and to take this information into consideration as work is moving forward related to human rights and equity work. Again, thanks to the people that made this report possible. That's very important work, and thank you.
David, could you scroll up to the top again, just so that community members can see what the name of the report is? So that
Yes.
they can look for it. It's a Humboldt County Black, Indigenous, and People of Color Student Listening Sessions Report. And I agree with David. It's a very important. I think it's important for all the commissioners to read it. Chair recognizes Jim.
I don't know who takes care of this, but I think this is a perfect example of something that should be added to our Facebook page.
Yes.
As soon as I get in there, I will, as soon as, because I'll give David admin rights too, as the secretary. I'm just trying to figure out how to do it.
It doesn't have to be you, but just, this is something we shouldn't let slip away.
I agree. Larry?
Yeah, I had an opportunity to read it through fairly quickly, and I was, as David said, it's an excellent document all the way through it. I was really impressed with the recommendations, but what I didn't find emphasized, which I think is real critical in the implementation of these kind of recommendations, is the school board's involvement in the process. I didn't really see much of that, but again, you know, if those recommendations were implemented, we'd be along down the road. It is great. So anyway, my two cents.
Carol?
Thank you, David, for sharing this. I did read every single word of this report and the recommendations. Some of those recommendations have been implemented. I just wanted to share the comments that were made by the students are the same comments that would have been made when I was going to college as well. So it's things have not changed.
Really struck a nerve, huh? That's
I want to
anybody
just
else
really
have-
quickly say, in response to Jim, I am going to get this link onto the Facebook page for the Humboldt County Human Rights Commission right now, actually, and I will put it in the meeting minutes for this meeting as well.
Good.
Thank you.
Really? So I'm sorry, I'm off topic. So David, you do have access to it, because I remember sending an email trying to get the two of you having access to Facebook, being the secretary and the chair. So you do have access to the Facebook.
Gotcha. I posted a link to the meeting tonight up there. But yeah, me and Mary can follow up with you if you're
Yeah,
having any.
yeah.
Okay, just want to know. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you, Larry. Or,
David, you mentioned a second item.
yes, and
move-
yes, thank you, Mary. And I don't want to because it's been about maybe a month or so since I spoke with Carol about this, but I wanted to take this time to, if it's all right with Carol, pass the chair of the Racism and Cultural Awareness Committee back to Carol. If that was all right with you, Carol.
Okay, put that in the notes for next meeting. Awesome. Great. Any other comments? Anybody, any other commissioner have anything to say? Awesome. Let's move on to homelessness committee. That would be Guy. You're muted, Guy.
No, I know. I'm taking notes over here. So the pen only moves only so fast.
I know, I feel you.
Homeless committee, we actually met a couple times discussing issues regarding it, and I've been rather busy with a variety of meetings. I didn't speak earlier because I figured I'd save it because it was all pretty much connected to homelessness, but Larry contacted me, I think it was Sunday night, back mid-July with Vernon Price, and we met with Chief Watson and the Eureka PD. There was 2 other police officers there involved in the homeless issues. I guess Vernon has got a legal action against the city. I met one of his attorneys, Rebecca Smith, with Legal Services. That was an interesting meeting to actually sit in, lasted about an hour on Monday morning. So it's kind of a quick turnaround over there. Our meeting that our group held, we discussed, again, a questionnaire. We also came up with an idea, providers group, to make some invitations. But after meeting with the police in Eureka, I went to their site and took a look at the questionnaire, and I think I sent that out to everybody, but I'll post that too. But they put out a questionnaire in 2020. It's pretty extensive, and I thought it was excellent. We might have a few questions that we might want to add ourselves to it in the future, but I didn't think it was really necessary to re-go over the same material. They actually met with 260 homeless people in Eureka and asked them questions, everything related to education, job skills, how long they've been homeless, what kind of money, issues like that. Was, as I said, it was an extensive survey, and I thought it would be one worthwhile everybody to take a look at. In the meantime, because of this idea with the state now allocating some large money to the homeless questions, I did contact Senator McGuire's office, and I spoke with, I'm just looking at my notes here, so I'm not looking at you for a reason, to Abigail Robbins, who I guess runs his office here. And she has gotten me in touch with the legislative director, Chris Nielsen, who is going to provide information to me and to our committee regarding what kind of funds we can expect here in the county and who's actually going to be responsible for allocating those funds. I also asked if we could get the senator, because we talked about in our group about, again, getting a providers group together, if the senator would be available, and they're going to check on his calendar, and we're going to be looking at some dates. In our group, we talked about an August meeting, but in light of the Delta variant right now, and it seems like the county is closing back up, I hear the supervisors and everybody else is probably going to shift back to the same kind of meetings we're holding right now. We might want to postpone any meetings at least for another few weeks. Plus, of course, we might want to hear what the money is actually going to be. In addition, and I don't want to hold this meeting too long, in addition, I did talk to Connie Stewart, who is interesting with David's report there, that student report. It's, I guess, the same group. Let me see if I've got a copy of it. I think I may have shown you guys this before, but this is the copy that was put out by Rural Health in Humboldt County in 2010. And it's got some interesting information, although sadly not very much dealing with the homeless issue. I asked for some updated information. She passed me on to Dawn Arledge, and they're going to get me some updated information on the homeless that, again, I'll bring back to our committee and then hopefully bring back to this group. And then one other person that I got in touch with is Jennifer Maguire, as opposed to McGuire. She's a professor of social work at HSU, and she's been doing a lot of homeless work with students primarily, but she's also updating materials for us on what the heck is going on in our county. So hopefully a lot of this is going to come together soon. I know we're all kind of hung up because of not being able to meet together, and now it looks like the next 4 or 5 weeks is not going to be too much of a change with that. But that's kind of in a nutshell what we've been doing.
All right. Has Aaron, David, or anybody else on the committee, have you guys been able to attend these meetings, or have you guys been able to meet outside of the meetings to make sure that everybody on the committee is kind of apprised each month? Are you guys kind of connecting with each other by Zoom or anything?
I was present. I've been present at all the meetings, so I don't know about anyone else.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear. That's good. That's a lot of action in the last month, considering we're in the middle of summer and Delta variant. So great job, you guys. Anything else on the homelessness committee? Okay, let's move to the Human Rights Survey Committee with.
I'm sorry, Mary. No, you're fine. And I may be wrong on this, but I thought we were going to discuss the stakeholders meeting.
That's my understanding too, David.
I don't see that, but is it in? I see the homeless committee providers invitation discussion.
Well, we mentioned talking about a provider's letter and, to invite them. I thought that's what we were going to also discuss, but I figured we might want to be holding off on that, in light of, everybody's postponing face-to-face meetings. And I think this would be something we really would like to do face-to-face.
I don't know.
Well, I worry though. I hear you, Guy. But it may be difficult to get people face to face.
Yes, it will be. Oops, sorry.
Oh, you're fine, Aaron, and potentially for who knows how long is the worry. Meanwhile, there's people with needs right now. I've seen not a whole lot, but people with stuff outside right now. So there's things happening. So people need some help and protection and support.
Sounds like a committee meeting in your near future to figure that out.
Well, I thought that we were going to get the stakeholders together, and we were coming to this meeting to have the commission approve us to reach out to the stakeholders.
I don't think that that's I don't think that that is a motion that needs to be put before the board. I think that that's something the committee can do. You can reach out and come back to us with results. And if there's an action, then we would have discussion and vote on it. But I don't think.
Well,
I don't think the board
keep
has
correcting me if I'm wrong, but I thought that the plan was the chair reaching out, an email going out from the chair to the stakeholders in the community, calling them to a meeting. I hear you about, with everything like literally in the last couple of weeks here, or like literally this week, kind of all shifting back here with the Delta variant and whatnot. But if Mary's saying we don't, because I thought that we have to reach.
David, I'm more than willing to send on behalf of the commission, but it would be up to the committee, get the stakeholders list together and et cetera, and I'll be glad to send that out. No problem.
perfect. I think that's all, that's the only thing that
because
we
I
had
wasn't-
wanted to do
That's what
there.
you're talking. Okay, great. Add that to your list of things to discuss with me.
And thanks to Guy for all the great
I
work that you're doing,
know.
and Aaron and Guy for having the meetings, because that's great work that's been happening. And I'm really glad to see it, because I have an uncle that's homeless on the streets of LA right now. And so, this is a topic that touches close to home for me, I appreciate the good work. Thank you both.
I think most of us are one paycheck away from being homeless. Chair recognizes Larry.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that I really appreciate Guy stepping in and meeting with Vernon. This is, he was able to respond within 24 hours. I got into a situation I was not going to be able to attend with him. And so, that was really great. I really appreciate him doing that.
All right, any more discussion on the homelessness committee? That's good to know. We're finding all these little pieces. I'm like, okay, let's get that done. Human Rights Survey Committee, that would be locked to you. What do you got for me, Bird?
I would like to share my screen. Can you let me do that?
Absolutely. Everybody can share, yeah.
Okay.
Down at the bottom, you'll see share screen. It's green.
Yeah, I know, but I have to find the right thing.
Okay. I didn't know.
How come it's not showing where I want it to be? This is the one I want.
Sometimes you have to open it up and there'll be more than one screen or more than one thing, and you have to find that, like if it's a Word document.
I know. Yeah, I got it.
It's a
I think
hassle.
I have it now. Yes,
Yay, look at all this.
everybody can see that.
I expect nothing less from you and Jim.
This is the report Jim and I met, and we spent quite a bit of time looking at some things that Jim had found on the internet and putting together what we could do. We started out with the goal, gather the information to improve the quality of life for all Humboldt County residents by reducing incidents of discrimination throughout the county. That's the goal. The purpose of the survey is to determine the status of human rights in Humboldt County in order to inform policy. We don't just want to find it out, we want to inform policy. And how we would use the data is compile it in a report to be submitted to the Board of Supervisors and all incorporated cities with the recommendations to the Board of Supervisors. Decisions that need to be made, we were given just till the end of this month. We would like to extend our committee until the October 7th meeting. We need to talk about distribution, when, how, and where the submissions would go when somebody fills it out, whether it's digital, paper, or both. Oh my goodness, I just have typos. The analysis, who will do it, possibly Humboldt State student or personnel. The report with recommendations to the board and when or if we make it public. And then we thought we needed to talk with media for collaboration in distribution. And we need a tech person for putting it on the website and maybe some more if it's all digital. We don't have the tech expertise for that. We need to have someone who can do that for us. That is a possibility of something that we might put into the budget for McLean before the end of the year. Then we looked at the type of data that we would be looking for: demographic, national origin, ethnicity, sexual orientation, race, religion, and there may be all these other things: economic condition, houselessness, protected classes as they are listed in our brochure, evidence of discrimination, understanding of what human rights are, barriers to human rights, and suggestions and potential solutions. Getting specific, we wrote some things for what a survey might look like. And we talked about how we would ask people to respond. For these first two questions, is discrimination a problem in Humboldt County, and are human rights protected in Humboldt County? People would answer as a major problem, somewhat of a problem, not much of a problem, not a problem at all. And then for these next two, which have to do with people with differences, whether how positive or negative do you believe that Humboldters are in accepting people from different cultures or backgrounds? And how positive or negative are you personally toward these groups in Humboldt County? And then we listed BIPOC, disability, religion, immigrant, houselessness, people on government assistance, mental health, addictions, LGBTQ+, and other. And the possible answers here would be very positive, somewhat positive, neutral, somewhat negative, very negative. Oops, that's not supposed to be there. And then the next questions are yes, no, or unsure. Do you agree that immigrants should adapt to the cultural norms of our society? Is Humboldt County adequately accepting of culturally different people? Are you aware of the Human Rights Commission? Do you think that Humboldt County should adapt to the needs of different groups? Then for 2 more questions, this would be frequently, often, rarely, or never. How often do you have personal contact with the following groups? So these are the same as the ones that are up in here in number 4. And should the police profile or target specific groups? And then finally, these are open-ended questions. What kind of accommodations are reasonable for people in groups listed in number 9? All these right here. How did you respond and to whom when you experienced discrimination? What do you think are the most common reasons for discrimination in Humboldt County? We're asking that people give us no more than 3. Have you personally experienced discrimination? If yes, please describe. And how would you describe your attitude toward immigrants? These are all things, they're not yes or no, fair, rarely, or positive or not. This is, we want people to give us their thoughts about something in probably several sentences. So that's what we came up with to start with. Would like to have response from anybody. I can put this part back and you can respond to any of this. I can put the second part up, whatever you would like. But we wanted the commissioners to tell us what direction to go in now. And we would like to come back in October, at the meeting in October, with much more of a final report.
That's really great work. I gotta say, I'm really proud of you both. I would like to suggest that somebody move to have this committee go till December 31st. I think you're squeezing, you got a lot of work done, but I think it's okay if it gets done before that, but I'd like to see it be extended till December 31st, if somebody would like to move on that.
I so move.
I'll second it.
All right, all those in favor of extending the Human Rights Survey Committee until December 31st, can I see ayes?
Aye.
Any abstentions or nays? We'll call that unanimous, David. I don't think we need a roll call for that. This is really great. I think that you've got a good start. And I think that Lelaine is asking if we can make public comment on this topic, but I'm not sure. Does anybody have a problem with public comment at this time? Jim?
Just confused about the process.
After all the commissioners, well, we didn't go up for discussion. We
new.
didn't open it for discussion, so we should, if somebody has.
This.
Go ahead, Jim.
But this is a committee report. It's not.
Right. Okay, you're right. So I think at this time, I think that you guys have done really good, but I'd like to see at least one more person on the committee. Is anybody willing to join this committee?
We don't need anybody else.
You don't? A committee of 2.
Actually,
okay,
it works pretty good.
Okay.
We work very well as a committee of 2. We would
You guys are good like that.
We would like suggestions from the rest of the commissioners tonight. First of all, does anybody have any concerns with these things that we have, the goal, the purpose, and the use? If that, does that fit with what everybody wants us to do?
Bird, for sake of time, I would suggest that this gets sent out as a Google Doc for us to put suggestions in, because we could sit here for 2 hours. It's a wonderful launch pad, but I believe for sake of time, we may find ourselves getting into every single question and changing wording and stuff. And I'd like to see us
No,
get to a point where
I
we
don't-
could, huh?
I'm not asking for wording changes. I'm asking for concept. Are the concepts, the goal, the purpose, and the use of the data? Do people agree with that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I see what you're saying. And I see Eddie's hand up.
Yes, my recommendation, I think this is great. I would support 100%. The only thing I would recommend is that we put it in a format that we could actually do the survey, some of us internally, to get a feel for it. And I think that would give us a better feeling of how it works, and be willing to do that and send it to you and Jim. I think that would help.
Okay, if I send you this as a Word document, can you do that?
Yes, I can.
All right. I
Eddie's
will
going
do
to
that.
join your committee and he's going to be
No,
like,
no, I'm not joining the committee.
No, no.
No.
Don't
teasing,
worry
I'm
about
teasing.
that. We're
I'm
fine.
But
We
that
will-
would be a big help, Eddie.
Yeah.
yeah,
We-
Eddie, you're great at making Google
Okay, I
Forms.
think there is one thing that we should discuss tonight, and that is this one. Whether we want this to be digital, paper, or both.
I can comment on when we did the cannabis human rights survey. And we need to have both available because not everybody has access. Especially people in more rural regions do not have access to the internet to fill those out, and it's kind of complicated. So that's, I believe it should be both.
Eddie had his hand up.
Yep.
I agree with that. You're not, yeah, both.
Then I think we will, Jim, you and I will get in touch with media to see about the paper distribution, and Eddie will look to you to put together something for digital. Okay,
Yeah, we could have a tear out in the time center or something. So when we're doing a committee report, I have a point of clarification. When we're doing a committee report, is public comment allowed on committee reports?
it's an agenda item, so yes, there's.
That's what I thought.
Yes,
So
but I
the
would
chair
like to ask, before you let the public do that, I would like to know if the commission is comfortable with the types of questions that we have put here. Now, these can be adjusted, we can do wordsmithing, but just the concept of the questions that we have. Larry has a hand up.
Yeah, I was just curious. There's a lot of surveys, from different populations out there already. I was just wondering, you guys are pulling some of those surveys together to get your questions. David talked about the listening sessions. There's some obvious questions that could be generated from a review of that. There was that homeless survey that recently was completed. I was just thinking that where we could expand and elaborate some of the questions.
We did look at several others, but I think it's a good idea to look at that new one too, the BIPOC. Jim, we can look at that when we look at these again, but we've already included a number of the kinds of things that were addressed in that report. So any other suggestions? Have we left out any big thing that you think we should have there?
I think it's a great job, personally.
I really think that once we do the survey, some of that stuff might come up. But I think right now it looks excellent.
Thank you.
Bird,
Jim, do you want to add anything?
I'm just
Erin?
wondering, yeah. I was responding to Bird. Do we have a question about fear? Do you, what are you afraid of? What are your biggest risks or something like that? And if they're afraid of the police, I don't know.
Ah, okay. Maybe we just put that down here as 16.
That could be a whole category in itself.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
I see Carpani's hand up.
I'll just put that there so we work on that, Jim. Do you have any fears? We'll
Okay, yeah,
we'll work on that.
that's a good addition.
Every good, very good addition, yes. That's the kind of thing I wanted from tonight, just ideas that people can help us make this better than it is.
Sure recognizes Carpani.
I was just wondering if you had asked, well, actually, I'm just a community member, so are you ready for public comment?
Yep. Yes.
Okay, so a question came up for me. This is great. But I was wondering if you had contacted any people of color to ask them about what questions they might ask if they were answering a survey such as this.
No, we didn't, but that's a good idea.
And now that we have the additional time, we can follow
can do
through with
that.
those details. Yeah.
Mhm. I'll just put this on here. I'm just going to put BIPOC communities or ideas. That'll help us, Jim.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Karpani. Good idea.
You're welcome.
All right, do we have any other public comment at this time? Very good work, Jim and Bert. I would expect nothing less from our illustrious SAGE members. Any other discussion on this?
Did I leave anything out, Jim?
I think you covered it really well.
Good. Okay. I will get this to you, David.
You meant Eddie?
I mean, Eddie, sorry, yes.
Karpani, we've already discussed the homelessness committee came before that. I didn't see your hand raised for public comment at that time.
I don't think that
I'm
was
just trying to go
Carpani.
through the chat. Karpani. Is the
I not raised my hand for public comment on homeless.
okay?
I
Then
think Nicole Norris in the chat is asking for comment on house matters.
Nicole Norris in the chat. Nicole, I know I didn't see your hand up or I didn't recognize you. I wasn't sure. But if the commission's okay with it, oh, Nicole said I have a toddler. If everybody's okay, Nicole would like to make public comment on the homelessness committee. So we're going to backtrack just a little bit to give that community member a chance. Where did she go? Did Nicole leave it? Oh, there you are, Nicole. So go ahead, Nicole.
Hi, yeah. So I really appreciate you accommodating for me not having childcare right now. I'm reaching out today. Also, I apologize for my connection getting lost earlier. That actually speaks to the issue with having these meetings via Zoom only. I have 3 different internet providers. I have Starlink, 101 Netlink, and my cell phone through Verizon, and I still don't have an adequate connection for these meetings. And also a lot of elders really want to participate. And I know Charlie Garth wanted to call tonight, and a lot of folks out at the Yeehaw commune to speak about what the code enforcement unit's doing out there. But they can't because they all have little flip phones, they have no internet access, and they're just really confused by the Zoom call-in, you know, the password and all that stuff. So just a heads up, there's a lot of people that really want to participate and make comments, and they're not able to right now. So basically the Yeehaw commune right now in Trinidad is housing, for a long time, they've housed probably 1,000 people in our community over the past 35 years in upcycled or recycled material structures. They're being threatened with bulldozers by our planning and building department code enforcement unit. And late August, early September, there are 7 families that are going to be homeless. because their homes are currently not up to code. One resident said something that really struck me to my core, and that was, the county feels like it's safer for us to be homeless than to live where we're living. And that's not fair. I went to their residence. I saw all of these structures, and they're so ingenious and beautiful, and the sort of thing actually that they celebrate at HSU's Campus Center for Appropriate Technology, or CCAT. It's all about reusing materials and catching rainwater and trying to live sustainably. Composting toilets. These things are not as welcomed in our community as they should be, but this is sort of a model society that's housing a lot of families, and they're on the verge of being homeless. And I really think it's important, while we're discussing homelessness, to address, something that's exacerbating that very matter in our community.
Nicole, do you have our email address?
I sure do. And I actually sent you all with just a real unedited interview I did with Claire Terra. She is the owner of Terra Family Farms. She's one of the residents there. She has a 2-year-old daughter.
I've just gotten access to it, so I'm going to go through to find it and get your information. And Guy, I want to get that information to you. And let's find out about the EHA community. It's the first time I've ever heard of them. I don't know about anybody else.
Just a little backstory. Yeehaw is the reason that Code Enforcement Unit doesn't have guns. They held them up at gunpoint back in 2008. And mothers and children were held up at gunpoint by our county. And they were disarmed after that. So they're no stranger to code enforcement action. And they've just been living sustainably off the land, growing food. It's really beautiful out there. I encourage anyone in the county to go check out EHA in Trinidad. Is it 473 Quarry Road? And they have an open gate policy. All are welcome there. And yeah, it's really magical.
Thank you. I see another public comment from a visitor named Sarah.
Thank you so much again.
No, thank you, Nicole. Sarah,
we speak.
I think, don't we normally, unless you're speaking to Nicole, I guess, what's the proper protocol? Bird, we'll respond to her and then talk, and then have Sarah speak.
We can ask a question of her for clarification. Sure.
Okay.
And we are discussing the issue, so it could come up during our discussion.
Great.
Said.
Okay. Who had Larry? Go ahead.
I was just going to ask Nicole if Steve Madrone, the supervisor for the district, has been involved at all.
I just adore Mr. Madrone. And yeah, he actually was the only supervisor who voted against the $62,000 penalty against the property. In fact, Charlie Garth, the owner, he offered to pay that and the county refused. And he's cleaned up the property significantly as well since, and they didn't care. They still want to bulldoze 7 families' homes right now during this pandemic and economic collapse.
That's something important that got brought to us. Does any other commissioner have some comments or any questions they want to ask? Bird?
I think one of the things that if I understand correctly, if the county had decided that we had a housing emergency, the kinds of things that are happening there could be incorporated into everything that was approved. But because they don't have that emergency declaration, they can say you don't meet the codes. And so I think maybe what needs to be is the push to, again, for the emergency, the declaration of emergency. And I'm wondering if the city of Trinidad could do that, or is this in unincorporated area? Is it actually in the city of Trinidad, or is it in the county?
Yeah, it's in the city of Trinidad, just about 2 or 3 miles outside of the city center. It's surrounded by a rock quarry, Mercer Fraser Rock Quarry.
But is it within the city limits of Trinidad?
I believe so. I'm not really familiar with that area.
So it's possible, if it is in the city limits, that the city of Trinidad could declare an emergency. I don't know whether that's a possibility, but
it's a great idea. If I might just add, this is actually happening in a lot of cases in Southern Humboldt and all over in the rural regions of Humboldt County. This is kind of a model property they tend to go for first at code enforcement, I've noticed. I'm a reporter and I've been covering this extensively.
Oh.
They were the first abatement that went out when the code enforcement changed hands in 2017 and changed the laws. I think it was, sorry, changed the laws.
Chair recognizes Jim.
We're drifting a little bit, I would think, but Sarah had her hand up a bit ago, but to the point of code enforcement for the county, I don't think they would be intervening if it was in the city limits of Trinidad.
Okay.
And 2 to 3 miles outside of the center of Trinidad that's a pretty big city.
Yeah.
I think
limits then.
I'd like to give another community member time to talk, but I believe that this is a bigger issue than we have time to address right here, but I would like to gather some more information about it and be able to, let's have that be a new business item next month, please, David, to have and talk about the Yeehaw commune and see what's going on. Maybe we'll know a little bit more about it by then. We
Thank
just
you so
don't
much,
have
Mary.
yeah, we just don't have
I actually have a radio show on KMUD on Monday morning if y'all are interested in hearing from the people that live there. 7 to 9 a.m. on KMUD, Monday Morning Magazine.
I will tune in.
A special on Yeehaw. Thanks so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Chair recognizes Sarah, community member Sarah.
Hi, I'm just so appreciative for all the work that you guys are doing, volunteering for our community. And, I've really been called into action. I'm an environmental activist, and as I've been working with forest health and water, we're in this drought, and access to clean drinking water and the threat from wildfires has drawn me into this realm of human rights. And what can we do to better care for our communities all around us? And, so grateful for you guys to be here. And I recognize your volunteer time and how challenging it's been with meetings during COVID. And, really all these things are done better in person, like looking into each other's eyes and feeling each other's, space to get some of these issues addressed. And I just really, again, want to thank you guys for making the effort to come together in this kind of virtual realm. And, Nikki and I have been working together on these issues of the Humboldt County abatement issues, and also been drawn into some of the cannabis permitting realm, because what we're really seeing is the shift in access to plant medicine, access to our ability to live on the land in sustainable ways. And I don't know how you individuals here can put any more effort into the work that you're doing. Just meeting the people in the prisons and jails and hearing them is just such a valuable thing. You have so much on your agenda, but I come to you now, I'm also on a fellow committee member on a Humboldt County committee appointed by Supervisor Madrone. In the Project Trellis. And I have faith that if we work together at this local level, at this community level, that we're going to be able to affect change. So I just want to let you know that we are, I just want to let you know that we're there, and that there are these issues that need to be addressed that apply to homelessness and access to clean drinking water and safe food. And I don't really know where else to turn except to you guys. So thanks for being here.
Thank you for your comments. Thank all of you for your comments. I am, however, going to go back, skip past the human rights survey that we were done with, and we're going to move to unfinished business at this time. Unfinished business, the EPD texting investigation situation. We have not gotten any updates that I know of from the chief of police. Does anybody else on the commission have any new knowledge? Larry?
Oh, I was going to say, wasn't he, well, I thought we were supposed to get a report from him this,
Well, we usually,
Chair recognizes Jim.
well, we usually have, this is the first time they haven't done a report. That's why we set aside 10 minutes in the early part of the agenda specifically for that.
All right.
so Mary, can you inquire for us?
Yes, I will. Chief, I'll
Because
send
I
an
was-
email to him. Send an email
It's
to him in the
almost done, it
morning.
should be.
I haven't seen anything. Bird?
Yes, I believe last time he said that he really didn't expect anything, any report for about 2 months. So that's probably why he doesn't have any kind of report today.
I think so.
That's what I thought too, but we wanted to bring it up. Anything else? Everybody happy about that? Okay, new business. Jim, are you ready to share possible logo for Human Rights Commission, creating our own?
No, I'm not.
No, the one that you emailed, that wasn't a good example of how the other county has their own logo. Do you remember that?
I do remember bringing it up, but no,
You don't have it as a PDF that
I was
Jim brought
going,
forward. Go ahead, Jim, sorry.
I was going to suggest that we form a committee to discuss ways to possibly create a new logo. I wasn't necessarily presenting one.
No, you had that great example as part of your
At any rate, I would like to propose that we form a committee to decide how we might interest the community in a competition to create a logo. I wasn't trying to present one.
Got it.
And I don't know if there would be interest. Right now, we're using the strict County of Humboldt official logo, which doesn't speak to me very much about human rights or people. And that's where I thought we might want to consider doing a competition of some sort. Perhaps the McLean Foundation could help to award prizes. But that just depends on the interest of the committee, of the commission, whether or not they're interested.
Sorry, Jim, for making you think. I just meant you had that good example that had gotten you all fired up. I knew that wasn't it. Does anybody on the commission seem interested in? We got Datso. Does anybody else? Go ahead, Datso.
Yes, I would be interested. I do graphic design. I haven't graduated with my degree yet, but I've been going to school for graphic design and raising my kids and working at the same time. So it's been going slow, but yeah, it's a passion.
Well,
All right, would anybody like to move that we form a committee, or does anybody else want to discuss it?
Mary?
Brent?
Mary? Mary?
Yeah.
Okay.
Aaron, go ahead, Aaron.
I would be willing to be on that committee.
Sounds like there's some interest, Jim. So would anybody like to move to form a ad hoc committee to look at the possible logo for the Human Rights Commission? Does anybody want to make that motion? Aaron, you're okay. Jim's
I'll
moving.
move that we do that and through December 31st.
Does that make sense to write down, David? Logo for Human Rights Commission ad hoc committee. So we have a motion from Jim. I think Aaron was trying to second, but Bird seconding. Okay, is there any discussion on that, or can we move to approve? Larry?
I was just going to say that's an excellent idea in terms of publishing our that we're here. If we could some kind of a competition to for the creation of a logo would be, like I say, an excellent idea to give us some publicity, the commission some publicity. So.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely, we're in discussion.
a bird might know the answer to this question better than I, but I brought up the idea that perhaps the McLean Foundation or some group like that might be willing to fund prizes for the best submission. Do you think that's a
Put
realistic?
it in our proposal, put it in our proposal to them. Yeah.
Yes, I'm,
Or-
before we leave tonight, I want to get that proposal. I've been making notes about the things that we talked about, and I wrote that down, prizes for the competition.
Okay,
So but we'll do that when we're finished with the email accounts, then if you would do that.
So
Mary.
it's not on the agenda, so I don't think that we can, but we could do it by email.
Well, it is on the agenda because it's part of the treasurer's report.
Well, that was a long time ago in the meeting, though. I don't want to, if everybody's okay, we'll backtrack that far. I'm okay with that. But
That was part of the report. That was a request from McLean because of the grant.
right, but my point is that I think that we could send all the idea so that we could form that by email. I don't think that we would need to sit and discuss that for a half hour
Well,
here.
we don't need, I just want everybody to know what they are, and then you can send them out and say, send your amounts. But-
Okay, I see what you're saying. I don't think I was understanding you. I thought you wanted to have a discussion and have items added tonight.
Well,
But
yeah.
I do recognize Aaron.
Great. We could take this to both the HSU that maybe Dotso has good connections with and the Ink people.
mhm. Yep, I bet they would get into it.
I bet they would. The Ink people, I believe it was her idea. It was their idea to start all those murals in Eureka that have revitalized the city. Brilliant. And it was, probably free or something.
Any other discussion? Eddie? No? Okay, we have a motion on the table and it's been seconded. Is there any more discussion? All right, let's put it to a vote. All those in favor of having a Human Rights Commission logo ad hoc committee?
Aye.
Datso? Okay, it looks like it's unanimous, no dissents. All right, and it looks like it's going to be Datso, Aaron, and Jim on that committee. Was that who I saw?
I will.
Yeah.
I hadn't said that yet, but I will.
Okay, is everybody happy with that? Okay, new business email accounts. Oh, go ahead, Jim.
How did you establish who the chair would be? I would like to suggest that it be Dotso, but that's up
I
to
do
you.
too. I agree with that. I figured you guys would figure that out, but yeah. Datso, you're getting to chair that committee. All right. The final agenda item, it looks like tonight, is email accounts. I kind of wanted to discuss that a little bit. I put that agenda item on. Right now, we have we have an email account with the Humboldt County that doesn't cost us anything. It doesn't require us to put out any money. We do have a Google Suite that has 3 email accounts, only one of which I know about, but I know there are 3 and it's costing us $36 a month. It's cost us $600 since its inception last March. And I'm not sure if those email accounts are necessary because we do have the one main email account and all of us receive Human Rights Commission emails to our personal accounts. So I'm open to discussion about why we have them and what the 3 are. Eddie, maybe you could help clarify what the 3 emails are. And it seems like they came into existence in March, right when the shutdown happened last year, but I'm not sure what's going on. So Eddie, clarify. You got to unmute, Eddie.
Unmute.
No, Eddie, you're muted.
Muted, Eddie, muted.
Sorry about that. Sorry. So we've discussed this issue several times. And basically people wanted different emails in order to have access to the Google files, which is not totally necessary, and to have access to calendars. And we've gone back and forth. I remember the treasurer wanted to have an email, and then we got rid of it, then we put it back on, and we got rid of it. I really think that we could totally handle everything if we use the county's email address and only had and one other email, probably the secretary email or the KM email. We could do everything we want, but I think there was a period that people just didn't understand and they still wanted those.
Yeah, I personally, as the treasurer, had no idea why it got formed.
Because you were the treasurer, you requested an email at the time, and we said that, and then, I mean, this is like.
You said there were 4 emails available and that they were available for officers. That's the only thing I knew.
Yeah. Okay, I think as we get more educated about things, we get the better idea. But my recommendation all the time was that we only had one, have the HR, which would be forwarded to people's emails, and that was a sticking issue, because to have it forward to whichever email we want, and then have one email so we can give access to people's to the shared documents, and then and do the other things that we do.
Okay, perfect. There's no website or no in that Google Suite, the human trafficking is a totally separate entity from that Google Suite, correct?
Yeah, that Google, yes and no. Because what the committee, and I'm using my memory, so if I get something wrong, it's not intentional. The committee, and we're talking about 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, wanted to support people like the human trafficking web page. So they created a site we created a site in order for them to create their own site. And then once they create their own site, they paid for itself. But the other thought is that way we could connect these things. And so we do have a site where things are connected so we can push them forward. I'm hoping I'm making some sense, but that's what the committee had voted on before. So that was the architecture we have. Maybe later on now, as we see things going, we might have a different opinion, but those were the decisions we had made in the past.
Okay.
So it is connected. It is, to answer your question, it is connected.
Jim's got his hand up.
Chair recognizes Jim.
Well, it's actually a question. I'm very much in favor of getting back to the original email communication for the commission. But what is it about KM or the secretary email that we could not do with the county provided system? That's what I would like to understand.
We have to have a email in order to have our shared documents. You know how we have the site that tells us that who's in charge. We have the other site that talks about the human trafficking. We need to have a email.
Is that an email or an account? Isn't there a difference?
It's an account, but if you have an account, you have to have an email. So
yeah, but it doesn't necessarily mean we have to funnel email communications through that. It's mostly serving as a vehicle so that the shared drive will work for all of us. Is that right?
Yes, because what we originally wanted to do was, because we switched positions, we switched things. So we had a centralized area where everything would go in, and then originally it would be the secretary, and then we could automatically send the other information to other people, to other members. So if somebody comes in or comes out, we always have a centralized location, and that's how we can keep our information. That was the logic.
Jim, where was our shared drive before we got all these emails last March? How did we share our?
Well, that's what I was trying to ask, because I don't know what account was necessarily created to link the shared drive, but if we need it for a technical reason, then okay, let's keep one for that particular reason and do all the rest through the centralized email. That, when we only have $200 or $300 in our account, and we're hoping that the McLean Foundation will help us, I sure would rather spend that money doing other things than just providing an email account that really doesn't have a great purpose.
David, I saw you had your hand up.
Yeah, I just want to actually echo what Jim just said. If the interest is keeping the current structure in place, so that way everybody can have access to the Google Docs in the Google Drive, yet minimizing the costs. We only need one. And then we could get rid of, if the chair is using the hhr@humboldt.ca.gov email address, then the secretary could be using the one account that works with Google Drive so everybody can have access. And we could kill the treasurer and that extraneous chair commission, the chair account on the Google Drive suite.
Yes.
Is this because the hhr@co.humboldt.ca.us is on Outlook and not a Google platform? Is that the reason?
Yes.
That's county. Yep. That one that you're talking about
And
is
so
county.
we couldn't have a shared drive on. We can't have a shared drive on Outlook.
The county doesn't support Google
No, I know, because it's Outlook, Microsoft.
No, they don't. The IT department does not
right.
have expertise or support for Google, and that's why.
So how did we have a shared drive before we had these accounts? We just used all our personal emails, and you used your own email when you were the chair. Is that what happened, Jim?
Yes.
Okay, that helps. Eddie?
So first of all, I want to state that what David stated was the original intent. That's originally how we wanted to have that one email, which preferably would have been the secretary, and everything would go out through there, and we could close KM, we could close all the other ones that we had, but that's not where the committee went at that point. And the second thing is, there was a reason when we were using a free account, it had to do with capacity and the amount of stuff that we wanted. That was the logic. Like I said, I'm going back in history right now of why we went to thing. And the original recommendation is one email, one Google email, and then we use the county one. And then the county one is forwarded to the Google one, which the secretary has, and then everybody else just has their own email thing. But the Zoom, all that stuff, we connected to different things. So that's why we are where we're at right now.
Yeah.
Totally agree. $600 is too much money. We should go back to that one Gmail, one HR.
Okay, to be clear, if we're talking about one email account, that's $144 a year. So I think that we would want to agree as a commission that we want to use, because we've gotten money from McLean Foundation, but we don't normally have donations just rolling in. So when the McLean Foundation is no longer able to, or for whatever reason, if they couldn't give us $144 a year to pay for our internet, what then? That's my question. Is like, how does this maintain itself moving forward? Do we put it in a budget request to the Board of Supervisors? I mean, what suggestions can we come up with it? Because we're going to keep this email going, and then how are we going to pay for it? We don't have a regular budget coming in all the time. Eddie first.
I'll be really quick. I also want to remember that our Google, our videos, YouTube. We have our YouTube, which we connect to our Facebook. That's why we also have that Gmail account. And so when we were connecting with Access Humboldt, that's how we do it. So if we still want to continue that digital accessibility, that's why we made that decision.
And we couldn't do that through HHR or at CO. Okay. And
I don't think so. I don't think so, no.
Could you look into that, Eddie, since you were on that committee at that time, so that we know moving forward, for the next chair to know how all these different things are connected, what email account are they using? Facebook and Access Humboldt and everything. Could you figure that? Give us a list of that. Are you responding to what I'm saying?
Yes,
Eddie, or
really
can I
quick,
give-
there's a sheet in our Google Drive, right? That has all the different emails and what they're supposed to do and the passwords that you have
Okay.
access. I'll send that to you.
Thanks, Eddie.
The
And then,
secretary has access to that too.
okay, Bird.
Well, I'm just, if we are going to have something that we send to McLean, then we add that 144 per year, because they will do a grant that's maybe a 2-year, they might give us 2 years to do it, even 3, as they did with this last one, I don't know. But we need to put that in, and we could maybe even
Well, I
say.
would put in 200 a year. Right now, we're spending 432 a year.
Well, but that's when I'm going to give all this to David to send out to everyone, as soon as we do end up the meeting here. I'll just tell everybody what it is I'm asking David to send out to everyone, and you put in whatever you think would be the cost. This is the kind of outreach that McLean is interested in helping us do. So if we have the media stuff that we need for outreach.
We need to apply for our own grant with Humboldt Area Foundation too.
Well, McLean has been really very good about this, and Denise did say to get it to her, and she would continue that for this year. We need to send bills, and then we can apply again for next year.
All right, thanks for that clarification, you guys. It was just, it's been a muddled mess with the county, trying to get all this figured out for me to explain to the tech crew at the county. Addie?
I'll be really quick. A lot of the reason where we're at right now was in the spirit of our digital accessibility and getting connected with other people. And that was why we got involved in a lot of things. But I think we should go to original David's thing of the one email and the one Humboldt County email.
Okay, and Addie, between you, David, and I will figure out which one that is. I think, I'm not sure. KM was what was being, okay, David, Jim?
Oh, if KM is just it's just a way of linking everything together. It's not an active type of email, not like the county Outlook would be. I wanted to ask one question, just so I'm absolutely sure. $144 is the total that we would be putting out?
That's the total minimum for one email account.
Well, a minimum is different than a total.
That's the total minimum for one email account. Right now, we're paying $36 a month for 3 accounts, and we're paying $12 a year for the Human Trafficking Fund website. So 432 a year for the 3 now. I don't know if there's a minimum they add to it, but I believe that it would be $12 a month, 144 a year would be the minimum. So I would budget 200.
Maybe I could ask the question a different way. What's the maximum we're going to spend? Not the minimum, but the maximum we're actually going to spend. Is it $144? If it is, I'm on board with that. If it's 144 plus something else, then I'm not so sure.
Eddie?
So yes, it's 144. The only way I could see us spending more if we use more space, that more in our drive, but I really think that's a very unlikely. I mean, unless we decide to put a movie in there or something, I don't see that happening. And so that would be it. And then yes, you have those, like we supported the site, and that's the $12, and that's for the address. So we have a couple of addresses in there that we might want to drop, but and that's $12 per year.
Did we have to pay for our Zoom account as well?
Yes, we do.
And how much is that a year?
The treasurer would know better than I would. I forgot. It's at $14 a month or something like that. But we got the yearly rate. So it's 144, something like that. Don't mark my words, but it's something around those numbers. And I think all of that is in our shared drive in the treasurers.
I just wonder if the county can't support some of this, is all I'm saying. We're a commission, and if these are required things that we need to perform our duties as a commission, why we can't bring this up with the, I know Bird's laughing. Is it out of the bounds of reason for us to talk to our supervisors and say?
We can
You can
still
ask.
try, but we just have never gotten it before. We've tried.
Well, we weren't in COVID before. We need Zoom meetings now, and we need.
Well, we can try. Yes, try.
Okay. Jim or David, I'm not sure who went
Go,
first.
David, you go.
No, only thing I wanted to say was I just wanted to echo actually what Mary just said, that, first I wanted to say I appreciate the McLean Foundation, because at my
Heck yeah.
time as a HSU student to being involved in a School of Business internship program, where the business I work for got interns, that was sponsored by the McLean Foundation. Up through now, the McLean Foundation still sponsoring important work around here. Thank you to the McLean Foundation for all that they do for the community. And I just agree personally with Mary. I think that rather than putting this encumbrance on the McLean Foundation, which I'm gracious for, I think the county should be providing some kind of an annual budget for this Human Rights Commission. I may be wrong on this, but from my understanding, there are other committees and commissions in this county that actually do have a budget and pay people in on these committees and commissions to do some of the work that we do. So it would be great if the Human Rights Commission, which has been around for a long time, could get that same kind of support.
We can try again.
I'd like to move this to, I guess I don't know what to move it to talk about it again, bring a report back next month. Where would I put that in the agenda, Jim or Bird?
That's money under the treasurer's report.
Okay, well, let's move it to there. But for the sake of time, we're at 7:01. And I think that we could talk about this till we turn blue in the face. Jim?
I was ready to make a motion that we adopt what we were discussing. I don't know why that would take too long.
I'd like to be my own personal opinion. I mean, in response to your proposal, is that I don't think that we have one ready yet, because we don't know indeed what we need. We need to know what it's going to cost us a year to have Zoom, what it's going to cost to have.
Excuse me, the agenda item is emails, not Zoom, for one thing.
Email accounts. So go ahead, put a motion forward. Bird?
Bird has.
I would like, instead of that, Jim, I would like to go through the things that we've talked about that need to be in our budget, and have David send that out to everyone. And you put on that what you think something would cost, and then we discuss it as an item in September. So if that's acceptable, I've made all these notes. And so, David, are you ready?
Hold on one second, Bird, in response to you, Jim. I do believe that I think that as a commission, we should decide to just drop down to one email account. Does everybody agree with that?
That's what I was going to propose.
Right. I don't think that is I don't think that's an action, because the email accounts are already there. We never moved to have the email account. So does everybody agree to drop down to one email account? That's kind of the question.
Yes.
Yes.
And Eddie?
So I think so we need to decide, and I recommend that we put it under the secretary, which was the original intent, the power and everything like that. Just for the record, KM stands for knowledge management. So it's going to take a little bit time to, like the YouTube account, all that stuff, to align it so it all fits under that account.
I think leaving it KM is fine. It doesn't matter if it says secretary or KM. It does it. I mean, KM's the one that's already hooked up to everything. Let's just simplify our lives. KM is fine.
And I highly recommend looking at the records that we have in the treasurer's account of where we spent these different things. I think that would bring a lot of clarity of what we spent in the past.
I agree. Okay, I would like to, because this is our future agenda item that you are proposing right now, Bert, and this is where you are going to read what we need and create a
Okay.
future agenda item out of it.
Okay, these are proposed expenses to present to McLean before the end of 2021. The first one has to do with the logo, prizes for a contest. The second is publicity for that contest. The next issue is the survey, the Human Rights Commission survey that we talked about. Money possibly for media collaboration, for some publicity for it, for perhaps a stipend for a tech person to develop the survey, and possibly a stipend for someone from HSU, student or staff, to collate and analyze the survey for us. And the third thing is the possible cost of our email account so that we all have access to Google Docs. Got that, David?
And our Zoom account as well, Bert, add our Zoom account in there.
Okay, email and Zoom accounts.
And add the YouTube channel. I think that's something that we thought very highly at some point, and we're connecting that to.
Are we paying for our YouTube channel?
That's part of that package. It's part of that email. So no, we're not paying for that. And so
Okay.
part of that digital accessibility.
Right.
So what we really need, David, you send that out to everyone. Everyone look at it, and if you know what something's going to cost, put it in and send it back to David. If you don't know, but you have a guess about what, maybe what you think a stipend would be worth, put that in, and then we can look at all of that at the meeting in September. Okay?
I just appreciate you so much, Bert.
Yeah, because I'm
So-
so bossy, I know.
No, so what I'm hearing is a future agenda item is a budget to present to McLean Foundation. Is that a future agenda item for
It's-
September, correct?
It's more than a budget, it's expenses for us to spend before the end of December.
Okay, and that will be, add that to our future agenda item to be new business next agenda.
Mhm.
All right. Unless anybody has a last hurrah, is everybody feeling complete at this moment? Jim?
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Third.
Okay, Aaron, are you there? Are you with our adjournment? Thanks, everybody. There was a lot done on committees this month. I'm really pleased with everybody. So I'm gonna call, we are adjourned at 7:07 p.m. tonight. And a lot of good work got done. And I think moving forward, I think September will be packed full. Plan on a couple extra minutes. I think we're gonna have a lot on our plate next month.
Bird, if you'll get in touch with me about when you want to meet.
Okay, well, it'll be next week sometime.
Okay.
I'll give you a call.
Aaron?
Thank you.
Did we address Lelania's issue?
It's got to be put, I said that we would add it to next month's agenda. That's all we
Okay.
can do because that's the rules. So it's been added to next month's agenda and I've been talking with Lelania as well.
And if she has, perhaps she's got something she wants on the survey that addresses cannabis in light of human rights, that to have her let us know. We can see about putting something like that in for one or two of the questions.
Yeah, she left before public comment and she was gonna comment, but she just left before public comment. Guy, thanks for adding how much Zoom is $150 a year for a professional account, which means an account that can go more than 40 minutes. So,
Okay,
so add that to that list, Guy, when it comes through.
yes.
I appreciate everybody. Thanks for letting me muddle my way through this for the second time. And everyone have a good evening.
Thank you.
All right, good work, Mary. Good work.
Thank you, Mary.
Bye,
Well
guys.
done. Good job.
All right.
All right, I'm stopping the recording.
Thanks, Eddie, and thanks for all you're doing to facilitate everything you do.
All right.
It's a complicated world.